I had the chance to be part of the inaugural trip of Four Season Yacht. It was amazing. But for me, what was even more amazing? Learning that the captain was a woman. I knew I had to interview her. I was so lucky that she gave me a few minutes of her time. And what really struck me was how humble and how warm she was. So, welcome to episode 12 of Conversations Under a Tree with Captain Kate McCue. In a world that moves pretty quick and often on autopilot, our voices and our dreams get lost in the routine. That's why we need spaces to pause, connect, and be inspired. That's how Conversations Under a Tree was born. An intimate space that invites us to be real and to have the courage to follow our dreams. My name is Natalia. I'm a journalist, visual artist, passionate traveler, documentary filmmaker. I'm also deeply involved in social issues. I'm a happy wife and a proud mother of 3 amazing children. This space is my way of learning through stories, not only to be inspired by them, but to ignite that spark inside, that passion we all carry deep within, to have the courage to live truthfully, to have the freedom to embrace who we are, and the strength to follow our dreams. Welcome to Conversations Under a Tree. Today we have a very special guest and we're in the middle of the ocean. We have the pleasure to introduce the first American woman to captain a cruise ship. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much for having me.
Captain Kate McCue, a pioneer in the maritime world. She became the first American woman to captain a mega cruise ship, a milestone shaped by years of dedication and perseverance. With decades of experience at sea, she has led some of the world's most advanced vessels, navigating not only oceans, but also the challenges of an industry traditionally led by men. She has earned her place through discipline, leadership, and a deep love for what she does. Her journey is one of unwavering commitment to her path, proof that no dream is too far when you keep showing up. And now, here we are under the tree.
We arranged this backdrop specially for you and all of your viewers, obviously. It's our first official day that we're sailing with guests on board. So I'm honored to be able to do this today.
And that's because today's the first day that Four Seasons Yacht officially begins.
Exactly. We did our christening, our naming ceremony yesterday, which that's deep maritime tradition that dates back thousands of years as a good luck. We blessed the ship, obviously, and we had our founder of Four Seasons, Isidore Sharp, and his lovely wife, Rosalie, were on board to do the whole christening on the pier. And the weather was perfect. Yeah. So it was great all around.
And tell us about that tradition. Where does it come from?
There's a lot of different stories. Some say it dates back to the Vikings. Initially, the story is that it wasn't so pleasant as having champagne across the bow. There was blood involved and sacrifices. But over the years, everything had evolved, and now it's a beautiful tradition. I've been on ships, for example, where the godmother was Malala Yousafzai, and she doesn't drink champagne. So in that event, we had a bottle of water. So it's just a representation of something that's being broken and sacrificed in a way to bless the ship.
And it's liquid like the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I didn't want to start this way, but since you mentioned superstitions, long ago, old myths and superstitions was that women on board were bad luck.
And so are bananas. But here we are with both on board Four Seasons 1. Yes.
And how did you navigate that? Did you ever have that?
You know what's great is I have been in the cruise industry now this is my 30th year. And I've always worked on international flagships. So for example, Four Seasons 1, we are flagged in Malta. Valletta, Malta is our home port for this vessel. And working on international ships mean we have an international crew. And when I was coming up through the ranks, when I first became a captain in 2015, I was standing on stage and I was addressing a crew of 950 from 65 different nationalities. And it was right then and there that I realized that we're all a minority of some sort when you have these international flagships. We're all a different race, religion, cultural background, sexual orientation, gender. And because we are so many minorities, we actually end up celebrating our differences rather than picking on those differences. So me being a female in every position from third officer up to captain was never a big deal because we are all different in some way. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about working on these ships is having so much diversity under one roof. And it's not just you go to work and then you go home at the end of the day. This is an environment where we eat, we sleep, we work, we play all under the same roof.
So it's a family.
It is. Especially on a vessel like Four Seasons 1, we have a crew of 200. So 200 guests, 200 crew. My last ship was 1,400 crew.
Wow.
But one of the big draws to me for this project was the 200 crew because it is much more tight-knit. You know every single person. On our first day of embark training, you got to meet every single crew member that was going to take this ship out, which is really special.
Very special.
Yeah.
It makes it uniquely luxurious.
I think when you're in an environment like this, people, they tend to be themselves because they've got so much support around them because they have people that understand them. So I believe you get a more authentic experience in these intimate environments.
Very special.
Yeah.
Was there a person or a moment that inspired you to become a captain?
100%. My very first I say experience on a ship was when I was 12 years old. My parents took my brother and me on our very first cruise. It was just a 4-day holiday to the Bahamas. And we got on the ship. We had such an incredible time. Honestly, I don't remember seeing my parents the entire time until we got off and we were packing the car to drive home. And I said to my dad, I know what I want to be when I grow up. And he said, what's that? And I said, you know the person that plans all the fun events on board the ship? And he said, cruise director? I said, yeah, I want to be the cruise director. And he said, you can do anything you want in the world, including drive the thing. And that was the seed that was planted as a 12-year-old. Now, fast forward when I was 16 and I was trying to think of, where do I go to college? What do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to do? And he reminded me of that conversation. And he said, if you want to go to sea, I recommend California Maritime Academy, which is part of the California State University system in the States, where I would get a business administration degree and a license to sail anything from a tugboat to the world's largest supertanker and everything in between. And I thought, that sounds really, really cool. So I applied, I got in, and 4 years of university and some hands-on experience at sea, and I got my first license, which is third mate license.
Kate, can you please walk us through what it means to go through the ranks?
Absolutely. I started as an apprentice and a cadet at California Maritime Academy, which is 4-year university, part of the Cal State University system in Vallejo, California. And then when I graduated, I became a third mate, then a second mate, first officer deck, first officer safety, first officer navigation, chief officer safety, and staff captain. And it's very much like the aviation industry where pilots will accrue so many hours of flight time before they sit for their exams. We have to accrue so many days at sea, which is 365 days at sea, so a solid year, before we can sit for our next license. And there's an officer of the watch license, a chief officer's license, and a master license. And then getting to the captain is basically waiting for that position to open up. And for me, it took 19 years.
But when you started, did you imagine yourself being the commander leading this gigantic ship?
I think the idea was there. I had no idea, obviously, what it all entails because the captain is, when we say we're in command, it's because we're in command of everything. So there are, the captain doesn't belong just to the deck or the marine department. The captain is the head of the ship.
Yeah.
So hotel, marine, all report in. And there's no problem on board that doesn't belong to the captain. It's regardless of division, department, everything falls under your responsibility. But the largest responsibility, obviously, is for safety of life at sea. So taking care of our guests and our crew and making sure that everyone on board is safe, number one priority, hands down. And I think as a 12-year-old, you don't understand the gravity of it.
At all.
To be honest, it wasn't until I became a captain and I had gone home on my first vacation and I went to go write my will. And I sat down with the lawyer and he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I'm a captain on a cruise ship." And he said, "So you're how did he say it? He said, "You're prepared to go down with the ship." And it was right then and there that I felt the weight of the responsibility. And it's true. I am responsible for every life that's on board. And I talk to my mom and dad every day. The last thing that my mom says to me before I hang up is make sure that you keep your ship, your crew, your passengers safe. That's the last thing that she says to me every day. And it's the last thing that I write in the night order books for the bridge team so that they understand that responsibility for who we have on board.
It seems that your family has been such a support for you.
Oh, yes. I've got those kind of parents that anything is possible as long as you're willing to put in the hard work. I think a lot of times people say, someone supports me because they tell me everything's possible, but you have to be willing to put in the time, the dedication, and the hard work. Because this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It took me 19 years to earn the title of captain. Yeah. And so it's not a sprint, definitely. You don't want a captain who's been fast tracked. You want someone, because every day you learn something new, whether it's a new port, a new maneuver, you have new people on board that you're working with. So every day is a learning experience. And if you tried to fast track that, you would miss out on a lot of the knowledge that you gain over these years on the job training.
Right. It's been such a long journey, almost 2 decades to become the captain. What maintained your focus?
I think I was having such a great time, to be honest, because
that's good.
Living on a ship, you live in a bubble, right? And when you're surrounded by people that are here to have a good time, which, that's the whole antithesis of going on a voyage. You're surrounded by people that are in a good mood and that are in that holiday spirit. And it's very safe. It's a great opportunity to travel and see the world. And it also opens up the world with the people that you work with. Because, for example, 2 summers ago, I came to Europe. I traveled to 6 different countries. And every single country, I met up with crew members that I had worked with before. And when you go to their hometowns, it's not that you're getting, the tourist version of things.
No, you get the local experience.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got the hole in the wall, their favorite restaurants, their favorite traditions, and you get to experience that firsthand. That also translates onto the ship because we have over 50 different nationalities on Four Seasons 1. Right. So when it comes to holidays, when it comes to Independence Days, for example, what we try to do is if it's an Independence Day, we'll have the local customs. Maybe they're wearing their national uniforms, and the food. Experiencing the food when it's one of their holidays, that's really special.
It just feels that your leadership, is it because you're a woman that you have a different kind of leadership?
I used to say that I wanted to be known as a captain, not as a female captain. That still rings true. But what I do think is women bring something special, and that is empathy. That came through during the pandemic. I was on a ship for 318 days straight.
Wow. Where were you?
We were off of the Bahamas at anchor. And the last voyage that we had with guests before the world went into lockdown was an International Women's Day sailing where the entire leadership on board the ship was women. My entire bridge team was female. The hotel director and the hotel leadership, they were all women. So when we went into lockdown and we said goodbye to our guests and we thought we'll see them in 2 weeks, that turned into 18 months later.
Wow.
But it honestly felt like we had a ship entirely filled with mothers. And in such an uncertain time where you didn't know what was coming the next day, and it was just uncertainty everywhere, to have women in those roles, it made it a more warm and open environment. And I think it took a lot of the scare and the uncertainty out of the situation. And I feel like I was really, really blessed. So that particular situation made me realize the special thing that women can bring to roles.
Oh, for sure. And then Kate, you're a legend. So you have
Only to my parents.
so many fans around the world, and also you bring an amazing example for women. You even said, like, I know you have a super powerhouse. And then you've brought a lot of women into this industry that it has been for years male dominated.
True. And one of the things that I learned early on when I became a captain, when I took over, I came from one company into a brand new company. So it was a new company, a new ship, people that I had never worked with before, doing a job that I'd never done before because I came in as captain. And that was overwhelming enough as it is. But then becoming the first female American to do the role, there was a lot of external spotlight put on it. And there were, requests to do interviews and these kind of things. And initially I had asked the office, shoreside, if I could step away from doing the PR side of things because I really wanted to focus on doing my job well. And there was this extra pressure that the male counterparts did not have to have when they became captains.
Exactly.
But what I found is every day I was getting asked the same questions, whether it was from guests or crew. Those questions were usually, can you tell us the horror stories of coming up through the ranks? And as I mentioned earlier, I didn't have that experience because I've grown up in this unique, diverse environment. And so I really liked kind of dispelling that assumption and that stereotype that I had gone through hell basically to get my position because that wasn't my experience. And that's when I realized that I had been given this platform. And if I used my platform to the best of my ability, that the women coming up through the ranks after me would not have to fit into these stereotypes, would not have to answer the same questions. They could just do their role, whatever it may be. And that's when I really started to focus on social media to show, what a day in the life of a captain looks like, what a life at sea looks like.
Right.
Because I am a firm believer, and my motto is, if you can see it, you can be it. And visibility is everything. If you take that away, you may hear a story about Captain Kate going to sea, but when you can see it in a video and you can see how the bridge team manages things and how the ship operates, it makes it much more inviting. And we actually saw an increase in women on our bridge from 4% to 35% over a 4-year period.
So it is a powerhouse there.
Absolutely. But you have to maintain that platform. You have to maintain that visibility. It's not easy because obviously with visibility comes scrutiny. Right. And, a lot of times people will be backseat drivers and say, why do you do this and why do you do that? But you have to basically cut out the noise. And, just be true to yourself and show what you think is right. And it's worked out pretty well.
Amazingly. What is your motto?
If you can see it, you can be it.
And
I change up it's SEA instead of SEE. So if you can see it, keep the nautical theme.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For some reason, it sort of came to mind manifestation.
Oh, yes. Big believer in manifestation. What you put out into the world as well, you get back.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, because I know you've linked it with the sea.
Mm-hmm.
But for me now, I feel the sea for me is the energy. Energy. Like we are energy too. And now I've become such an amazing believer that anyone and everyone is energy.
Absolutely. I mean, you can even feel it in the pool behind us, right? There's ebbs and flows, and that's life, right?
That's life.
It's life, it's energy, and it's just this
a continuous flow.
Exactly.
What are your strengths?
My strengths are the people around me, honestly, and knowing, I guess I should say, identifying what their strengths are and being able to use those so that we have all bases covered. Because it takes a village, the captain is one person. And to be honest, the ship can sail without a captain. But
can it?
It can, yes. Because I have a second in command, they could take over. But what we can't sail without is like-minded people who we know and understand their strengths, to make sure that we have all of those bases covered.
So basically, it's sort of translates to empathy.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's one of your biggest strengths.
I think empathy and also vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
You know, I've worked with captains that were very old school, show no emotion. I'm not like that. And when I was becoming a staff captain, which is the second in command, I was sent to Sweden for psychological evaluation. It's what they do it's called marine testing. And they put you through a series of tests to make sure that you're sound to look after anyone from one person on board to 5,000, 10,000 people on board. So I went through this series of testing. And at the end of it, the gentleman sat across from me and he said, "We got your results and everything is great. But," he said, "I find you tend to smile too much."
Wow.
And I thought, okay, well, if that's a flaw in their eyes, like, I'll take that. I'll own that. And I went home. I told my friends, my family, that they had said that. And my friends and family said, "Well, you didn't have to go to Sweden. We could have told you that for free." But when I became a captain and I went to familiarize myself on ships, I did a tour of 5 different ships. For the first 2 weeks, I was telling myself, don't smile, you won't be taken seriously. But it was so hard to be somebody that I wasn't. So after the 2 weeks, I said, "Sod it, I'm going to be me." And honestly, from that point on, it was smooth sailing. You don't have to worry about being someone else. That takes a lot of energy.
Right.
And who you are, I mean, smiling, it's the easiest way to disarm people. You know, if someone's having a bad day and you smile at them, it really, like, no one has animosity towards that. And so that is a superpower in itself. But understanding who you are, I think is the greatest strength that you can have.
I think your smile can definitely melt anyone.
It's contagious,
It's
you know?
contagious,
You can walk down the middle of the street and someone's coming at you, you make eye contact. If you smile at them, it's just refreshing, right? It gives you some kind of sunshine boost.
But I feel you're definitely one of the lucky ones that had parents that build you up as a child, knowing that as women, as men, as just human beings.
Yeah. And I also have parents that don't play favorites. My brother, he owned a restaurant and he was a butcher, and the pride and the support that they have towards him is the same as, you know, their daughter who just took out
no, come on, you're a little more.
No, if you ask them, they don't play favorites. They, you know, if there's an article about me on the wall, then they will put something up about my brother as well. And I think that's important too.
That's very important and true. Kate, what would you say to women that feel their dream is too far away or too different?
I would say when you have a dream that feels unattainable, I mean, that's why it's a dream, right? But if you're willing to put in that hard work, the time, the dedication, it's going to be worth it. And it's also going to be attainable, because anything worth having is going to take that time, that dedication. It's that marathon. It's not a sprint. And that's just going to make it so much more gratifying when you look back, because you'll be able to say, I pushed myself outside of my comfort zone. I accomplished this. And even the little milestones, because you have to give yourself grace and you have to give yourself credit for the little wins, because it's going to take a million different little wins to get to that pinnacle. It's not going to be like one day you wake up, boom, one win, you're automatically there. That's not how anything happens. Mm-hmm. So I say, you know, dream big, shoot for the moon. And if you end up on the stars, at least, I mean, you've made it so far. So anything's possible. Just, be willing to push yourself and also give yourself some grace. It's a mindset that you just have to get in, that your possibilities are limitless.
Amazing. But you know what, Kate, you make it look so easy, and I know it's not. Come on.
Do you see my gray hair? Do you see all this?
And I love your gray hair.
Thank you.
Kate, I heard you're a cat lover.
Any animals. Cats, dogs, birds, horses, dolphins, anything.
But you're accompanied always by your cat?
I had, when I first became a captain, my sidekick was a hairless sphinx named Bug Naked, and she cruised with me for 8 years, and I lost her in 2024, in December of 2024. And honestly, that was one of the things why I left my previous company as well, because I had always been with her on board, but having her on board was like having family. And
Your companion.
yes, and she was amazing. So we got the opportunity when we were building the ship in Ancona. They have a feral cat colony, and so getting to get close to those cats, and there's been a connection with felines in my career for as long as I can remember. And cats are good luck on ships. They're thought to have mystical weather powers. They can predict when storms are coming. And back in the day, they were always required on Navy ships because they would eat rats that would climb up the lines. So there is a nautical tradition with cats on board the ship.
Do you have a cat now?
I don't.
Are you looking for one?
I'm always looking for one. Whether or not I can have one, that's yet to be determined. So we'll see. I've got something lined up for home. I think we may be growing our family of felines when I get back home, but we'll see.
Where is home?
Las Vegas, where all great sailors come from, the middle of the desert.
Exactly. Really?
Yes. And it's funny because myself, I live in Las Vegas, and then the captain that will relieve me on Four Seasons Yachts, he also lives in Arizona. So he's in the desert too.
Both from the desert.
Yeah.
What, you don't have your seeking?
Exactly. I was born in San Francisco, so, right next to the ocean, but we've been in Las Vegas now for almost 25 years. Okay. It's where my parents are, and that's where I call home.
Thank you so much for your time. And I know I only told you 30 minutes because someone needs to be cruising the ship.
We're going to go do some voyage plans because we changed things up after we sailed. So it's one of those constantly evolving things. So I'll get back down to the bridge, but I wanted to say thank you to you as well for taking the time to talk to me because it means a lot. It
and
really
I
does.
loved it. And I'm also a super fan of you because I think you inspire a lot of women.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.